Hey guys, good morning everybody. Today is Monday, February 10th. It is 6:21 right now. We got market opening up in about 9 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up this room real quick and we'll get started shortly with our analysis for today. It's got a few things here to update and we should be good to go. All right, let me get this link sent out to you guys here in the premium. Discord is currently updating. So should be opening up shortly. Bunch of updates. Bunch of updates overnight, it looks like. All right, Discord is starting up. So good. Just like sent out to you guys here. Once you going out. And there we go. So, all right, guys, as people start to join in, I'm going to go ahead and mark liquidity up over here. Connection lost. So the 1 hour. Up to the 30-minute. 15-minute. 10-minute. Back down to the 1 minute. Looks like we are to go. All right, guys, good morning, everybody. Today is Monday, February 10th. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend. It is 6:25 right now. We got market opening up in about 5 minutes. My Ninja Trader just disconnected. Let me see what account disconnected. Just want to make sure it's rebooted back on. Okay. Hopefully we don't get any more errors here. It always makes me a little uneasy when stuff like that happens. But all right, guys, we have a liquidity marked up here. Closest level of liquidity above is at 44,682. This is probably going to get hit pre-market, so I'll just leave it as is. We have another level above right here. Level below right here at 44,659. Down here, there's a bunch of levels down here. So we'll kind of see where price goes here on open. A lot of stuff happened over the weekend, so we might have some increased volatility here on open. So you might want to be careful. We'll know the direction of the breakout shortly in a few moments. So that one there got hit. And I'll update those sessions a little later. So I'm gonna have to like take this off from time to time because I do, if you guys saw in the chat, I created a new indicator here. Well, I'm still working on it. I coded this indicator over the weekend with my brother. It identifies V1 variations and engulfing candles. So basically you see a V1 on there, it's a V1 pattern double body. If it's a E, it's an engulfing. So pretty easy to see right there. It's gonna be easier for us to identify, who's in control of the market and when price is kind of shifting. So I think that's gonna be super useful for us. Hey, Kenny, morning. Morning, Sam. Morning, Karen. Morning, Maria. Morning, Lila. Morning, Christian. Morning, everybody. So yeah, this tool is going to be super, super useful for us with identifying, who's in control and market structure and stuff like that. So I think this is going to be beneficial for everyone here. We got market opening up in about 3 minutes. Looking at current price right here, so it looks like the sellers were possibly in control right here. And the buyers became in control right here. Yeah, Sam said nice V1 indicator, good one. Yeah, it's going to help a lot. The thing with this here is that you shouldn't totally depend on the indicator because obviously sometimes there's going to be flaws. You just want to use it to mainly look at, okay, where is the confluence is happening? But you should still be able to look at the charts and be able to see those double bodies yourself. Double bodies and double wicks yourself. Like for example, right here, this is probably a double body, but it's probably not on the same exact level. And that's why there's no V1 right here. So just keep that in mind, guys. Just keep that in mind. But the tool does work very well for the most part. I mean, sometimes there's going to be choppiness and volatility in the market where it's hard to see. And then the indicator kind of isn't able to identify. Like for example, right here, V1, right? This gives you a quick understanding of like, okay, this is probably where V1 is going to close and you can anticipate it. And now it's engulfing. But you can see until the candle closes, it doesn't actually stay there. So looking at the breakout for today, guys, it looks like it's going to be a buy. It's not available yet, Christian. I'm still working on it because I don't want to release it and then it has issues. So once it's done, I will give you guys an update once it's actually ready to be used. I got to use it for a couple of weeks or a couple of days to make sure there's no, like this right here. This is an issue that I think I might have to work on to see if I can get that fixed. But I'm assuming that because it's based off the data, this isn't exactly a double body or double wick. There must have been some sort of data skip right there. Why doesn't show? But all right, guys, breakout for today is going to be a buy. If you guys are looking to take the breakout again, I'm still holding off on the breakout myself. But if you guys do want to take it, we will be following it here. We'll be following it here and we'll see where this, ends up going, of course. The market is now open. Breakout is currently running for a buy right now. There goes a breakout, guys. Here, let me fix this real quick. Not in the breakout, I'm just following it. But if this is the case and price ends up coming down lower, then the sellers might be in control from this point right here. So looking at this here, guys, liquidity did get hit. This level is now done with. Price is dropping any lower, it might try to aim for this lower level of liquidity there. Market opening price right here. So there goes opening price. And we will see where price ends up going from here. See how far this thing has dropped down from here. About 30 points. The ATR is actually really low right now, guys. ATR is currently at 13, so it's really low for market open right now. It kind of looks like price has been consolidating here for a while. Looks like some consolidation right here. All right, so price is pushing back up. Looks like the breakout is back in profit. It's on its way to 50 points right there. A little bit of drawdown, but it is pushing back up right now in profit, almost to its 50-point mark. So there it goes. Price pushes up higher. The sellers here are invalidated. Buyers are still in control. So buyers have been in control for a while here. We have two engulfing candles this way. Engulfing, there's two confluences to the upside. Price is pushing up higher. Breakout is about to hit right there, 50 points. All right, so breakout has hit 50 points here. If that's your target and you guys are only going for a 1-to-1, which is most of you guys, first target right there hit. And we will see if it pushes up any higher to reach the 1-to-2. Choppiness right now, which is fine. Here's a clean chart. This is kind of sitting right here on the 700 mark. That's SR zones right here. Yeah, it looks like price here is just consolidating for now. So we're just going to sit tight, wait for this here to actually push in a direction, and then we'll start looking for entries in that direction. But as of now, I'm just hanging out. All right, I'm gonna see if there's an upper zone here. Yeah, so looking over here at the support resistance, this is the 1-hour resistance. Price came up, bounced off the resistance right there, came back down. It's consolidating within this middle area. It's kind of where it was earlier. As you can see right here, price has been consolidating within this middle area since 5:30 around that time. So this has been a consolidation area for a while. Price basically fakes out, comes back down. Here we are at the clean chart. Not really much here to work with, so we'll wait for this here to kind of choose its direction. We have no confluences here for a sell yet. So we are still waiting. So the same area consolidation I drew here earlier, price kind of just flew back into the area. A lot of back and forth. There's no news today, so there's no real catalyst to really push price around. At least no high impact news at all. Yeah, there's nothing really to push price around. So a lot of this stuff is just market opening. So, obviously big push to the upside, big push to the downside. This liquidity target got hit. This one also got hit. We have new liquidity up here. Price is dumping pretty hard. So I'm going to wait here for market to stabilize a little bit, of course, before I start looking for any entries. There's no confluences here anyway, so I'm not looking for any MPSB2s. I need to have a couple confluences there for me to take it. But the sellers are not, they haven't established control here yet. This is kind of just, it looks like price is whipsawing back and forth. Price whipsawed up to wipe out the sellers. Now it's coming back down to whipsaw out to wipe out the buyers. Basically took the sellers here, took the buyers here, and we'll see if it ends up holding. I don't know if this will actually hold, but we'll see. I don't see any V1s here. I don't see any engulfings. It's just a strong push to the downside. So I'll just put a red candle right or red bar right here. So you can see that power to the downside. And then we'll kind of see what happens here next. Not much here to work with. We'll just wait. It's still pretty early anyways. It's 6:36, so we're not really looking for MPS V2s until around, 6:45. So we'll let the market here wipe the buyers and the sellers out of the market, and then once it starts to establish stability, we'll start looking for some possible entries here. But you guys can see how messy this thing is. This is why we don't chase, right? If you chase the buy here, because price pushed up super heavily, you would have gone screwed for the sell here. If you chase the sell here on open, you would have gone screwed here either way. Like, I mean, either direction, it's easy to get kind of burnt. So it's gonna make that a little smaller. The liquidity is getting hit though. Here's another thing, like, so the tool that I created, sometimes you'll see an E here. It's because this candle is engulfing the red candle. This typically shouldn't happen, but like, I mean, this type of pattern shouldn't happen because there shouldn't be a red candle engulfing another red candle, right? But sometimes because of the data spikes, like the buyers try to push price up, they push it up a little bit and then it ended up pushing below. So, I know this isn't your traditional engulfing candle, but this realistically, this candle is engulfing this one. So I just want to make that clear because that's something that I noticed when I was creating this tool too. I can't fix this where it has to be green. It's just sometimes when the data kind of spikes like this because the sellers are very strong, you're gonna need an E there, even though it's not an opposite candle, but it is engulfing nonetheless. Damn, all this liquidity here is getting knocked out, guys. There was no liquidity above, that's why. So like the first liquidity got knocked out, and now all of this liquidity down here is pretty much getting wiped out. If you guys chase that as, liquidity push entry is great. I had a feeling price was going to come down. I didn't think it was going to come down like this, but when we first marked up the liquidity this morning, I mean, pretty much all the liquidity was down below. This is the type of market that I personally would sit out of. I know some people would like to get into this and make money off these drops, but it can only drop so far until it's due to swing back up. So what I'm going to look for here is I'm going to look for price to correct back up. And when it does, I'll draw a green bar there. I'm going to look for some confluences. So I need to see some B1 variations. I need to see some engulfing candles, some sort of confluence to indicate the reversal back to the upside. I mean, what might happen here, price pretty much grabbed all liquidity down here. So all the liquidity that was marked up down here got knocked out. There was about like 8 levels down here. About 8 levels of liquidity down here. We had about 3 levels of liquidity up here. Pretty much all of the liquidity before market open got knocked out. If you guys saw all the blue lines, they were everywhere. And now they're nowhere to be found. Next level is right here if it drops any lower. But I'm feeling that there may be a bounce right here on the sessions. I don't know if this lower level will get hit because it's dropped so far from this upper area. So from this high right here, prices dropped 200 points. The crazy thing with this is that there's no catalyst really pushing price down like that. There's no news. Let me check the let's see. I don't see any breaking news here that really caused. I mean, most recent here says the Dow Jones Industrial Average is trading higher, which it isn't. It's actually dumping right now. I don't know. Did Trump tweet something? Did something happen to cause price to drop like this? Because I don't see anything in the calendar, or I don't see anything on here. Let me see real quick. Let's check CNBC. I don't like looking at CNBC as much, but I mean, aside from the tariffs, that's the only thing I can think of. This is what Trump announced over the weekend. 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. I don't really see anything here specifically. I mean, I don't see any. I guess I can see this right here. It says, okay, stocks rise to start the week as traders shake off the latest US tariff threat. That's the only thing I saw from the weekend. But other than that, I mean, price is still dumping. So I'd be careful chasing these sells here, guys. I think this might just be some, they just came to drop to grab liquidity down here, and then they're going to swing back up. They're basically whipsawing. They're wiping people out in both directions because it initially pushed up right here. So if you measure from this lower point, well, initially it dropped. So market opened right here. It dropped about 50 points to stop people out, and then it pushed up about 70 points to wipe people out, and then drop another 200 to maybe 300 points now from here. 240. I mean, it basically just wiped out all the liquidity that I marked up. Let's see. Aiden said the drop might be because of higher time frames. Okay, let's take a look. So I'm looking over here at the higher time frames. The 4-hour, it was bullish, but it dropped down, I guess, a couple hours ago. So it's bearish right now. I mean, that's the only thing I could see that was bearish. For the other time frames here, Aiden, for the 1-hour, it was actually bullish. It just came down on this specific candle. So if you look over here, it was I mean, this just dropped. This was actually climbing up. So I don't see too much here. Like, I'm looking for clues here to identify. I don't think it's the price action. Like, a drop like this doesn't necessarily happen because of the technicals. A drop like this happens because of news. Because this is just one huge candle, right? Like, everything here was bullish. A 30-minute was bullish too. Obviously, it was losing power right here around 6 to 6:30, and then it came down very, very sharply. But other than that, I don't really see anything else. Like, these are like if you look at the 5-minute candle here, I see this as a big spike, right? It's it's not a normal candle. Like this big drop here, there's nothing that could have really predicted that this would have came down, aside from like a news event. I mean, there might be a news event that came out and I'm just not aware of it. And I'm trying to figure out what it was aside from the tariffs. That's the only thing I could think of. But it's okay. I mean, we can have different ideas of like why the drop happened, but it's not going to make a difference with our analysis here. So we'll if it keeps dropping further, then I'll maybe start looking for more sells. But I would just be careful chasing the sells. So I'm going to keep following the market and see where things happen. But I just don't have very many clues here regarding, why the drop here. Because it looks like, yeah, like here it looks like a smooth drop, right? On the 1 minute, it's like, okay, this is a smooth, like it's been dropping like candle by candle. But if you look on the 5-minute, like these are like blocky candles, they're super messy. 10-minute, again, super messy. And if you go on the higher time frames, like we mentioned, like let's go to the 30-minute. This also is hard. Like the price act, like I wish there was a way for me to read price action right here, but it just looks like a huge block candle. Like this block candle happened on Friday because it was NFP, right? So that was a news event that dropped price like that. This is very similar to something like that. It's not a normal candle. I mean, this, if you measure the 1-hour, this candle is, yeah, 300 point. Like this is something you usually see if news drops. Maybe CNBC will report something later, but they reported the opposite. So if you look over here, CNBC said the stocks rise, and they're not rising right now, they're going down. So that's like your CNBC indicator. If they ever report something, you're probably better off doing the opposite than what they say. So price came down, tested this liquidity below here. This is also the sessions. So we'll kind of see what happens here. See what happens at this point. See how the bounces happen right here. So this might bounce off. Otherwise, if we have another engulfing, this is another confluence to the downside. Yeah, Aiden said it had been climbing since 3 a.m. with very little retracement and rejected off some of the structure on the 4-hour and the 1-hour. Yeah, I saw that too with the pivots right here. Four-hour structure. Okay, let's just go back to the same chart we're on. Well, I can see it right here rejecting off the pivots. I mean, that was like because price initially pushed up, it spiked up, then it came down super sharply. So yeah, I do see the structure right there on the 4-hour. go back to the 1 hour. I don't really see structure here on the 1 hour though. I mean, this is an engulfing candle. It's engulfing this one. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here when it pushes through. I think this is going to correct back up. And you can see price here starting to push back up. Like from what I see here personally, from the 1 minute, I saw liquidity get grabbed down here. Pretty much all the liquidity get grabbed, and it's going to probably swing back up to open right here. I don't think there's a specific direction of price. I think this is all the basically the market open manipulation. As you guys know, Mondays and Fridays are typically like the riskier days to trade. Monday because people are re-entering the market from the weekend. So like people got all the data from the weekend, Trump increasing tariffs and stuff like that. So what happens is a lot of fear like mongering happens in the market, right? People are like, oh, tariffs are happening, everything's gonna go bad. So people sell off their stocks. And then what happens here is that when people sell off their stocks, people buy the dip. Right. So I think a lot of this drop here is mainly based off the tariff news. I don't know if Trump released anything else over the weekend. I know there's a lot of things that he's trying to push for, like he's trying to get rid of paper straws. That's one of the big things he's pushing for. The thing with Dodge, you guys know that they're trying to take over the financial data that we have. Like uh there's an independent governing entity that would like look over everyone's finances, and Dodge is trying to take over it. So there's just a lot of stuff that happened over the weekend. If you guys are following the news or not following the news, Trump and Elon, and there's just a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that's affecting the market, of course. It causes a lot of scares because there's a lot of things. I think like Trump is also trying to get rid of certain credit agencies. I mean, it's crazy. There's a lot of new stuff happening in the world. And the thing is, when you come back from a weekend, people start to freak out. And they're like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. They sell off all their stocks. And the thing with the YM guys, the YM follows the stock market, right? Because these are the top 30 stocks in the US. So like, I mean, if you guys look at the index, a lot of these companies fall within YM because YM covers pretty much all sectors. So yeah, it's trying to get rid of paper straws. Why? I know I heard it on the radio. Like they pretty much were listing all the stuff that Trump is trying to get rid of. I guess he thinks that paper straws are waste of money. I mean, they're good for the so basically a lot of stuff that like were implemented um to help the world, right? Like global warming and stuff like that. And like, animals in the ocean getting caught in plastic. That's why paper straws were introduced. But Trump's like, oh, this is a waste of money. Plastic is cheaper. So he's pretty much rolling that stuff back. And instead of making paper straws the priority, it's going to be back to plastic. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff, guys. There's a ton of news that's been happening. I do suggest you guys, if you guys ever listen to the news, I mean, at least listen to it or follow news on a weekly basis, because there's a lot of new stuff that's being implemented. A lot of people don't even realize stuff like the tariff stuff. It might not seem like it's not going to affect you, but it's going to affect everybody because prices of everything are going to go up. This trade war is going to really dictate what happens in the market for this year, because this trade war it's just going to get worse. It hasn't even started yet, to be realistic. Like the trade war hasn't even started. Yeah, over the next couple of months, we're going to see things, price of everything's probably going to go up. I mean, if you guys have seen eggs, the price of eggs are crazy. I don't know if it's like that around the whole world, but here in California, like for a dozen eggs, it's like 15 bucks. So it's like more than $1 for eggs. And that's just basic eggs. So it is crazy. Hey, Barack, morning. Yeah, Stern said looks like last Monday's PMI correction. I can see that. Definitely can see that. Christian said, I think Price just wanted to say hi to the sessions. That's typically what happens, right, Christian? Price comes down, bounces off the sessions, and it comes right back up. This is a whole area of manipulation, so I don't typically trade around these areas anyways. You guys can see how Price respects these lines right here, right? These are the sessions. So the Asia low right here, Price came down. Well, Price initially broke through this Asia high. bounced off the London low, then rejected off the Asia low right here. Now it's bouncing back up it, and probably a pair. This is like starting to set up for a head and shoulders, right? A shoulder, head, another shoulder right here, and it might push up higher back to opening price. So we'll kind of see what happens there. But I mean, that looks like a pretty decent head and shoulders. If it is a head and shoulders, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but yeah, it's a small head and shoulders. I mean, on the 1 minute, kind of lines up with what I'm looking for, anyways. Price to push up to there. Panels are all screwed up now because of this huge spike to the downside. We do have some consolidation here. So what I'm going to do here first is I'll mark this up. Just so that you guys have an idea of like the consolidation that's happening down here. We don't have the buyers in control here. I mean, the buyers might be in control. If I see a confluence or reversal to the upside, then I can mark the buyers being in control from here. But they're not controlling yet. Until I see some sort of V1 variation, or if I see a engulfing candle, then I'll see price push up from this area. But right now, price is just consolidating around the sessions. Let's see, Shiv said new executive orders at 7 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern, I believe. Might be wrong. Okay. Thanks, Shiv. Yeah, so Shiv said that there's going to be some new executive orders that are coming into play today. They're going to be active. I mean, that might be a thing too that causes scare right here with prices drop. Who knows? There's no point in really being too like caught up in this anyways. It's, it happens in the market. You'll see drops like this happen. There's no need to like overanalyze and be like, oh, what happened here? So you can try to understand what happened. I mean, realistically, it's just the market, right? It happens. And then now there's two things that may happen after it. So whenever you see a drop like this, one of two things happens, right? It's either going to correct back up and fill that drop. So go back to open. That's going to be one of the scenarios here. This is ideally what I'm looking for. I think this is probably what's going to happen. Or the second thing that may happen is price may consolidate here for a little bit and then drop even further. So price has to go one way or the other. It's going to correct back up or it's going to push back down. We don't really care what happens here anymore because it's already happened, right? We're kind of just waiting to see what happens after this. Is it going to correct up or is it going to come back down further? Right now, there's no confluences yet to the upside. So until we get those confluences, I'm really just going to sit tight here and wait. It wouldn't matter because I'm not looking for entries in this middle area anyways. The volatility is not even super high. It's the 23 ATR. I mean, it's decent volatility, but that's only because we had this big drop right here. Otherwise, these other candles here that are currently coming up, they're very small. They're like 15 points. So we'll kind of see what happens here. CJ said maybe Trump saying he's serious about Canada becoming the 51st state in a Super Bowl interview. Yeah, I mean that'll probably not happen, but I know he's been pushing for that. Trump's been trying to he's basically trying to pressure Canada into becoming like the 51st state or a province or whatever it may be. Kind of like with Hawaii or like the other smaller countries. I mean, Trump has said a lot of things. Like he wants to take over the Gaza Strip. That's another thing. That like if you guys, I think over this weekend, Trump has said a lot of things that kind of like shaped up things a little bit. Like he really wants to take over the Gaza Strip. I don't know how that's gonna work. And then same with like what CJ said, with basically trying to pressure Canada to become part of the US. That's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. So you're gonna hear and see a lot of outlandish things over the next couple of years. Trump's in house for was it 4 years now? So we'll see. We'll see what happens from now until then. Yeah, Lila said it won't affect us, but the underprivileged and elderly will be. Eggs are $6 a dozen on the East Coast. Sharon said here, €3 to €4 a dozen. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why are eggs so expensive here in California specifically. I know I'm assuming there's a shortage, but they're extremely expensive here. Like it's cheaper for me to go buy a steak than to go buy some eggs. So I don't even buy eggs anymore. At least not for a while. Bird flu, yeah, Patricia. Thanks for mentioning it. Yeah, bird flu. That's what it was. I remember someone mentioned it the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, there is probably a shortage. But it's crazy how much of a shortage there is. Like if you guys probably don't see it as much, but like if you guys have a Costco where you're at, a Costco is like equivalent to like a warehouse. And you basically get like groceries for like super cheap. You buy in bulk. But here at Costco, like they didn't really raise the prices, and people are fighting for eggs there. It's nuts. Like they have a limit. You can have like one stack of eggs, but people are like literally fighting for them there, and it's crazy. I see all the local pages here where I am, so I see it happen like in the neighboring cities. Like I tried to go for eggs yesterday, and there's nothing there, but it didn't really bother me. I was like, okay, I'll just eat something else for now. Yeah, Ross said Biden and the health department killed 100 million chickens. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are mentioning this because I don't really look too deep into it. It's starting to make a lot more sense why stuff's happening. Let's see, Christian said it's weird. It's weird my London low is below the Asia low, not where you have it. I think um so it might be I think I adjusted my times for daylight savings, Christian. So I'm not sure if our times are exactly the same. Your hour might be off by like 1 hour. I think that's what happened the other time when someone else asked about it. These are my settings for my sessions. Mine might be wrong, so I don't necessarily say you should switch to them, but this is because of daylight savings. And we're not in daylight savings right now because it's spring forward, fall back. So I think daylight savings ended in November and I just never changed it. So I'm probably just gonna leave it as is because it's gonna be spring soon and I'm gonna have to move forward anyways. There's still not much happening here, guys. So don't worry. If you guys are looking for entries, I mean, the market here is not doing anything. You guys can see these candles are extremely small. There's like no body. So we'll see here if price pulls back into this consolidation area or if it continues climbing up higher. I mean, I don't care where price goes. I'm just waiting for price to do something. I need price to push out of this area. So, I mean, realistically, I don't care where price goes, but I would like price to push above here for me to take buys. And then I would push below here for price to take sells. So I don't really care what happens in this middle area. I just want price to be up here. I want price to be down here. These candles are too small, so there's not really much price action happening here. The buyers still haven't had any confluences of V1s or engulfing, so it doesn't really show that the buyers are in control here yet. I mean, this thing could easily just flip right back down to the downside and head back down from here, right? So I would just sit tight, guys, and let the market do its thing. It looks like we might get an engulfing on this candle right here if the candle does push up higher. You guys can see the E right there, that's pending. I really like this indicator that I put together. It's very helpful. So I don't have to like be looking like, oh, is that engulfing? Is that engulfing? The markers here just basically tell me right away if it's engulfing or not. So we'll see. Yeah, Ross said there was a health risk, but they weren't sure what it was. CJ said, I don't eat there, but you know it's bad when Waffle House charges 50 cents per egg. Yeah, they a lot of restaurants here too, like they charge you a premium for if you want egg on something, or they just they put some else instead. That is crazy. I've heard of that for Waffle Houses. So we got one engulfing candle right here. We got two confluences here. So we had, let's see, this was an MPS V2. So price pushed up, so price pushed up, pushed down, pushed back up right here. This is an MPS V2 that came up earlier. I'm just looking at confluences here. I mean, obviously I wouldn't have taken this trade. It's like in the middle of all these red flags. Or actually, I guess this could have been an okay entry. It just would have taken forever to hit. This was an MPS V2. There's actually no red flags here in the middle area. So we had a buy signal right there, price pushed down, pushed back up. This candle closed above this momentum signal. This is a confluence for a bullish push to the upside. So we have the buyers that have been in control since this area here, or trying to be in control. Price did push up. So that's one confluence right there for an MPS V2. Then we have a second confluence right here for engulfing candle. So the buyers are attempting to push price up further. What I'll be looking for here is I'll be looking for another possible engulfing candle. If I see price push up any higher, and then we get another engulfing candle to the upside, then I'm expecting price to push up to opening price. I mean, I already knew price was going to push up here, but if I see another pattern there, that's where I can see this here push up even higher. So Christian, if you remember what I showed you, I sent you my scenarios over the weekend. That's one of the scenario entries that I'm looking for. It's strange that bird flu doesn't affect ducks or goose. I know, right? That is weird. We're all in bird family. But yeah, Christian. So guys, over the weekend, I was kind of looking at these patterns ever since I put this indicator together. And a pattern that I've seen is I've seen a pattern where, so where, yeah, I have them here in my notes. So there's a couple scenarios here, like for example, so scenario number one, we have an MPS right here. Why is this thing all weird? Oh, it's because I have them listed in numbers. Let's try to fix this. I'll take these numbers off. But there's a couple of scenarios here, and this is what I'm talking about with what I'm looking for right now. And this is all discretionary, of course. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios here. These are all scenarios that come up with NPS V2 and the confluences, which are V1 variations or engulfing. So what I'm looking for right here is I'm kind of looking at scenario number three. So we have an MPS V2 that came up right here, and then we have an engulfing right there. And if I see another engulfing right here, then I'm expecting price to push up higher to this opening price. And they're very similar. It's just like sometimes you'll have two confluences, then an MPS. You'll have one confluence, one MPS, one confluence. Sometimes you'll have MPS, then two confluences. But this falls in within like the same idea of you're looking for these confluences to line up with the MPS. Like the MPS right here. This one obviously came up first before we had any engulfing candles. So what I'll be looking for next is I'll be looking for either a V1 variation to the upside or an engulfing candle to the upside. If I can see that, then I'm expecting price to push up higher. Right, and that's something that I would feel comfortable taking here because I do see price start to reverse to the upside. Yeah, Broxton saw it, but already paced upwards. Yeah, and on NQ, he's on NQ right now as he waits for YM to behave. CJ said, remember last year, the day after the Super Bowl was dead, and this year we're getting movement, but don't know why. The Trump effect is crazy work. Yeah, I know if you guys traded with me last year, the Super Bowl last year, the day after market was like pretty much super dead. And we kind of joked around like, oh, everyone's still drunk from the Super Bowl and like people are just not trading. Today we had a ton of volatility and like the complete opposite. So yeah, I agree with you, CJ. The Trump effect is crazy. And it's funny that you remember that. because a lot of people don't remember that stuff, but I remember it very vividly because I didn't do anything for Super Bowl last year. Well, I watched the game, of course, but I didn't do anything crazy like this year. This year I went to my friend. My friend hosts like a he has like this big mansion in the hills, and he always hosts a Super Bowl party. So I went to that yesterday. I was kind of tempted, like, should I trade today? Should I not? But I feel okay. I don't feel all messed up from yesterday, so that's why I'm here. But if I was, I probably would have canceled today's live session. Yeah, 8 into the game was over at halftime. I know. It was a blowout. It was crazy. It's crazy because the Chiefs they were the favorite. I feel like a lot of people bet on the Chiefs, and there goes that money. It's nuts. Let's see. Drew said the other assets are boring too. Nothing happened after the drop. Sam said, don't see any structure for sell yet. Waiting for 44,595, then maybe 44.90. That's pretty far up, huh? Yeah. So Sam is waiting for a while for price to get up to basically past this liquidity. Or 590. Sorry, I read that number wrong. 595. So it looks like you're already here. Sam, I don't know if I see anything here for a sell yet, though. I mean, we have an engulfing setting up right here. So I mean, this might be your sign. I'll draw a line here. If this gets so I drew a line right here. This is a high point. If price ends up coming back up, then it's going to invalidate it, and I'm just going to delete it. Let me see if there's any new liquidity here I need to mark up. Pretty far down. I mean, this is the only liquidity down here. It's liquidity target. Price does come back down from where it is. We have a high point right there, liquidity target. It's not established yet, but kind of see what happens here. All right, so I drew a red line here. This indicates that the sellers might try to get back in control right here. I don't think it's very strong, but we'll see if it ends up holding. If it doesn't hold and price pushes back above, past this liquidity target, then I'm going to remove this red bar, and the sellers are not going to be in control yet. Thanks, Drew. Drew said ES filled the gap. Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting it to push up to this area. Like I said earlier, I'm looking for that correction to the upside. We just don't have it yet. Volatility here is pretty flat, as you guys can see. The ATR is back to 20. So it's a pretty slow day today, guys, overall. I mean, like per candle, not from this big drop, but overall, like if you're looking candle by candle, the market isn't really moving very volatile. But it looks like the sellers here might be back in control. Here, I'm going to save this as I'll just take that off. I don't want to have too much stuff on the chart right now. I'll put it back up if I see another entry here. But again, we have the red bar here. So I've pretty much identified this as the high point. Price is at a high point. We had an engulfing candle right here. The next thing that could come up is either another confluence or it's going to be an NPSV2. A couple of things that I would be looking for here personally is actually, never mind. I'm not going to put that analysis there because price might climb back up from here. We have a V1 here that's pending, double body rejection and double wick rejection. Or not. This candle will have to close green. If it closes green, we'll have a V1 or engulfing right there. If it doesn't close green, then price may drop further. I mean, either way, I don't like how these candles are moving, so I don't think I would take this here. This kind of falls in line with my confluence from earlier that I was mentioning. So we have an MPS V2 engulfing V1 variation. I don't like how this candle is. It's super small, so I don't even know how it's going to close. I think this is going to be a tricky candle to follow. And it didn't close with engulfing. So the sellers are still, I would say, somewhat in control right here. They're not really in control, but they're still pushing price down. But you guys can see how small these candles are, right? If you measure these candles here, the bodies are like 2 points. They're extremely small. What I'm gonna look for here, there's two different analysis that we can look for here. We either see some sort of confluence that pushes price up, either engulfing or V1 variation pattern, and then we see price push up higher, or if we get a sell signal here, we may start to look for a possible MPS V2 to the downside, right? Because we do have one confluence right here. We have one engulfing candle. So if I do get an MPS V2 here, I'm going to be looking for another confluence on the following candle. So right here, if this sell signal closes, which it looks like it's going to, what I'm going to look for here, and there we go. So now I'm going to look for an MPS V2 down here. I'm looking for price to maybe, I would like to drop down a little further down to this middle area so I don't get caught in these red flags. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for price to kind of come down a little bit, retrace up, and then give me an engulfing or V1 variation pattern right here. So I'm looking for an engulfing or V1 variation pattern somewhere down the middle. And then from there, I'll be looking for this to ride this down maybe at least 20 points to hit my target for the MPS V2 or whatever it may be that may come up next. That's kind of what I'm looking for right here, guys. Nice. Sam said he's closing 80% with 50 points, 50 pips profit or points profit, leaving the rest with break even. Solid. That's solid. Sam, where'd you get in from that? The price point you mentioned earlier? You said 595. Yeah, solid drop right there. So you got in like right when the engulfing candle came down. That's pretty solid, that high point right there. I can see where you got into. There is a structure right here. A nice entry at that point. All right, so this is going to set up for a possible entry, guys, but I'm not going to take it. It's right at the red flag right here. So, I mean, unfortunately, it's just not going to meet my criteria. I'm not trading at these red flags, but this candle looks like it's trying to close as an engulfing candle. If it closes engulfing, it closes down below this black line. This is an MPS V2 plus it's engulfing. So it didn't actually close below. This next candle might be the case. But again, like I said, I'm not necessarily looking to trade at this purple line here, which is a red flag. It's just too big of a red flag for me. I'll mark it up for you guys if it does come up, but I'm not taking it. I wish price could just push away from these red flags here. Like if it wants to drop further, right? Or if it wants to push up further. It doesn't really matter which direction, but I want price to get away from this specific point. All right, so this is going to be an MPS V2 if this candle closes below this black line. Again, it's around this red flag area, so I'm not necessarily looking to take any entries. But if you guys do want to take it, I will mark it up for you guys right there. This doesn't meet my confluences either. So if you look back to my scenarios, I need two confluences here. So I need an engulfing MPS V2 and then possibly a V1 or an engulfing down here. So what I'm still going to look for entries here down in this area, but I'm now looking for an engulfing candle, guys. So I'm looking for an engulfing candle. So if price does come down and comes back up and comes back down further, even within this area here, I'll be looking for a V1 variation or an engulfing. So I'm just looking for those two price action patterns because over here now we have the second part of my scenario. Right, so let me put the scenario over here real quick. MPS. I swear I saved it here. Yeah, let me just refresh it real quick. I'm not in this position, but I'm pretty sure, pretty positive I saved that scenario. There we go. I don't know why I didn't show up earlier. But yeah, basically, so the scenario that I'm looking for here now is we had an engulfing, so that's going to be one reversal continuation. Then we have an NPS, and then I'll look for another reversal continuation confluence. And then enter on the V1 or engulfing close. So scenario 2 right here is what I'm looking for next. But you guys can see here how price is stuck at the sessions. This is why I didn't want to take any trades around this area. Because you can see how price gets manipulated around the sessions area. Let's see, Christian's asking if that was a V1. So I don't know if this is a V1. Like I said, the indicator is usually pretty smart when it comes down to identifying the V1s and whatnot. But I don't think this here is a V. Well, I mean, it looks like it, but the thing is, like the data set that I have, if the numbers aren't lined up, it's not going to come up as a V1. So it's kind of hard to tell, Christian. I wouldn't necessarily bank on it, but I mean, it looks like a V1. If you want to consider it a V1, you can. But I'm going to go off the indicator because the tool that I created, I mean, it's pretty accurate for the most part. So I think there might have been some sort of price gap, like it might be off by like maybe a slip, like a split point, maybe like less than a point, and that's why it doesn't line up there. Because it would typically have the the marker above it. And that's that's another reason why I can't release the indicator yet, because I'm still trying to work on that to see what's the case there. But yeah, if you want to consider that a V1, you can. I'm not in this position, guys. I just marked it up there for you guys. The reason why I didn't take the position here was because it was at a red flag. It was at the sessions right here. Hey, Lamar, morning. All right, so I'll keep looking for more opportunities here. Again, I'm going to base my V1s. I know, like Christian over here mentioned, this was a V1. It looks like a V1, but I'm going to base my V1s and engulfing confluences off my indicator. Because for my testing, I mean, they work pretty well as long as the rules are followed. So even if they don't count certain engulfing or stuff like that, I think they still do play a pretty big part. So this entry here is still running, guys, and there's actually another. So this would have been my entry. I'm not going to take it though, but there's two entries following on each other right here. So we have the main one right there, and there's a second one that's currently running right here as well. There's two entries running right alongside each other. This was going to be my entry right there for the scenario that I mentioned for scenario 2. And I mean, it looks like it's probably going to hit. I was really tempted to get into it, but I need to follow my plan. My plan is not to trade these red flags. So scenario 2 right here. This is the reversal continuation confluence engulfing. This right here is the NPS V2 currently running. And then this is a reversal continuation confluence right here that's engulfing. So this is scenario 2 right here that's playing out. And it's probably going to go down and hit TP. Yeah, that would have been a nice entry. It's all good. It was at the red flag, so not exactly the area where I'd be willing to be trading at. But it looks like it's going to play through right here. I hope it plays through. If it plays through, it's going to meet my, it's going to validate my analysis here. And there you go, full TP on that trade right there for scenario 2. And then that was gonna hit too. Damn, that would have been nice. 2 entries right there, 40 points. NPS V2, and then the engulfing right there for scenario 2. I did a lot of testing on this, guys. These scenarios, they're really good. Like they're so good that I bumped up my contract sizes on basically all my accounts. So that would have been a nice entry to take. But it's okay. I can't look at things that way. This was at a red flag, so it's all good. I'm glad the analysis played out, but because it was at the red flag, there's too many variables there that could have tossed it the other way. And since I'm increasing the contract sizes, I'm not going to take that risk. We'll look for the next one. But that was a good entry there. Yeah, CJ said it's all good. You're showing discipline. You know, the crazy thing is I did this testing with all the red flags and it still hit. So I mean, in this case, I mean, I might, well, I'm not going to say that I'm going to, but at some point in the future, I mean, Christian even has looked at it too. Christian looked at it and he was like, hey, Sean, I've been looking at these trades and even with the red flags, I mean, they still hit. So I might, I'll keep testing. You know, we'll keep going through the year, and then if you know, obviously, at some point in the future, if like the red flags are always in the area and they still hit, then you know maybe I'll take them. But I'm still following my trading plan. You know, one loss and I'm done for the day. So I don't want to take a like not an A+ trade. I want to make sure the trade's an A+ trade before I actually take it. But all right, the sellers have been in control for a while now, as you guys can see over here. The sellers have been in control since 7:05. We had it engulfing, NPS, engulfing. Now what I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for price to flip the other way. Right, so I'm going to look for a low point to get established. And once that low point is established, then I will mark up a green bar here, and then we'll look for some confluences to the upside. And then we'll possibly look for a buy. If we don't see a buy, then we'll flip it back to the downside. Brian's asking what's the TP stop loss on the strat. So the initial criteria for it, Brock came up with 2030. So 2030 is like what he came up with. I think we can drop it down to maybe a 2020 or even a 3030, like you said, Brian. It kind of just depends on the market volatility. I mean, the 3030 does hit, so there's three different ones you can use. You can use 2020, you can use 2030, or you can use 3030. I would probably, because the volatility is really low today, ATR is 19, I would probably use a 2020. If the ATR goes higher, then maybe a 3030, but I think 2020 could work. It just kind of depends on, you know, how the market conditions are. For today, it's very choppy. It's a little slow, so like maybe 2020 would be best. Or if you want to be on the safer side, 2030 would be okay just to have that cushion, just in case. But yeah, I mean, those are your three options. Christian said I didn't take, but there are good confluences and it hit once one. Yeah, I agree 100%. Christian over here marked his up too. Nice. Yeah, so Christian over here marked up his confluences. So he marked up engulfing, 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 engulfing. So you basically had the sellers in control all the way from the top, which is fine. You can do that too. And he had the double top right here, or yeah, basically double top rejection. Similar to what well, basically what Sam said earlier. Nice markup right there, Christian. That looks good. Oh, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but I posted my stats over the weekend. So over the weekend, I thought we were doing like not super great, but I'm actually doing pretty decent. I'm currently up right here. So I'm up 78,290 for the month of January up until this month. And if you guys want to see the breakdown, I posted it here in the team chat too. These are the stats for January. And these are the stats for February. So I'll try to post these up just to show you guys, you know, the consistency, and to show you guys that, you know, that's kind of where like you should be if you're on these live sessions with us. I haven't been taking the breakouts. So like I took losses earlier in the year because of the breakouts. I kind of held off on the breakouts after that. So these scalps are kind of helping. The only problem is that I'm not taking enough risk on these scalps yet because I'm trying to figure out what's the proper contract size. Now that we have these scenarios kind of placed, I can increase the contract size kind of similar to what I was taking for the breakouts, and I can recoup my losses. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want to see that, I posted it in the chat over the weekend. If you guys are kind of curious to see what my stats are for the month so far. I know some people asked about it, so I just posted it up. Let's see, Brian said with higher volatility, you think we can get away from the auto trailing trigger at 20 with a TP at 30? Yeah, I mean, if the volatility picks up, Brian, like for me personally, I'm not even using, well, I'm using a trailing stop, but it's at 30 points. Like I'm using my original trailing stop from when I was shooting for like 30 or 60 points. So like basically whenever I enter a position, I have my setup where I'm aiming for 60 points and then I have my trailing stop at 30. But like you said, if the volatility picks up, you can probably just take off the trailing stop and just go straight for target. I think straight for target is probably the better option. Because the thing is with the trailing stop, sometimes it has errors, and I would just rather get out where, and now that you mentioned that, I'm actually going to change my settings here. I'm going to take off my trailing stop, and I'm just going to set it to like where it should be, 2030. So I don't have to like go through it when trades come up here. Yeah, so I took my trailing stop off, Brian, myself personally. I'm just going for the target now for the 20. There's probably still going to be some adjustments that I have to make based off like whatever the setup is here, because there's going to be slippage on entry. But yeah, I pretty much just set it to an actual TP. Because when you set it to an actual TP, you get out at like where you want to get out or where you're supposed to get out, right? It's not going to be like it's not like a trailing stop where sometimes it has an error and then you're kind of like you're screwed because sometimes it doesn't actually move up and then it hits your TP and then you're like, yeah, I should have just got out where I planned to get out. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna actually turn on my ATM orders over here as well. Yeah, I'm turning on my ATM copy on the my copier accounts because last week we had a scare where one of my accounts didn't close out. So I like the ATM to just copy over. So if I ever get caught in a position, it'll actually close out where it's supposed to. Yeah, I mean it's still a learning process for me. It's kind of annoying when it happens, but it happens. Because I have like almost 50 accounts that I'm copying. So whenever I have an error, I have to go down every single account to see which one's still running. And I mean, you guys can imagine how scary that could be. Like all your trades close out and you have one trade that's running. Like luckily the trade from last week, it dropped below TP and it stayed below there. So I actually locked in more profit on that specific account. But if it was the opposite and it hit stop loss and it was still running, I could have blew the account. And these are like real money accounts. They're not prop accounts. All right, so the buyers are currently in control right now, guys. You guys can see here, the buyers have been in control since 621. We have an engulfing candle right here, so that's one confluence. Again, I'm looking at my scenarios here, and I'm looking at my scenarios. And it looks like so. Looking at this here, this could be. So it's going to start off with NPS. This is probably going to be scenario number 3. NPS, confluence, confluence, and then enter on the third confluence, or the second confluence, I guess. So I'm not going to enter this right away as an NPS V2. If you guys want to take it, I'll mark it up for you guys, but I'm trying to follow my scenarios right here. Again, my target price point is going to be, wait, what happened to the opening price from earlier? Oh, okay, it's still there. It's just super high up. Okay, so I forgot I had them up here. The target right here that I'm looking for price to reach is probably going to be this opening price up here. So it's got a ways to go. Let me see if there's any more liquidity here that I need to mark up. Put it right there. It's like we are. So again, I'm looking for scenario 3 to here to come up. You got the NPS setting up right there. I'll follow it. The NPS might be coming up right here, guys. So if you're looking for the NPS, you basically need a red candle. Let's see, Lamar said, what do you think is causing the issue for the copier? I think it's just data connection because I mean that day we were having a lot of connection loss. I don't know what like, it usually happens like when the weather is cold. I don't know why that's the case, but like I always have connection loss, not even just with NinjaTrader, but like with other brokers. Whenever it's cold weather outside, like really cold weather, it for some reason I always have connection loss. So there was a connection issue. The problem is that I had a connection lost when I was in the position. So I was in the position, the connection lost, and then it closed on my main account and it copied across like majority of them. But one person's account did copy. So I don't know if he had a connection loss on his own stream or like on his own feed, or if it was like I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that the connection error is what caused like one of them to get basically not copy over. Because I look at the list now and I saw his account get disconnected. And it's very rare for something like that to happen. So something like that to happen doesn't happen very often. It's actually super, super rare where you happen to be in a position and your exit happens as soon as you have a connection loss, right? It's like, I don't know, I'd probably say like maybe one in like a million chances that that would happen. Like, it's just worse. It was just horrible luck, I guess. I guess you can say that. There's nothing I could have done to fix it. Well, I had to log into his account individually to close out of it, but there was nothing that I could have done to prevent a connection loss from happening. Over the weekend, I pretty much rebooted my internet, but I still had a connection loss this morning. So I don't think it's the internet. It's just market. And it usually happens when the volatility is super crazy. Like today, I don't think there's going to be much happening. The volatility is very low. You know, we're at 15 ATR. But like on days where like the ATR is at 40 and you see these big spikes up and down, you know, a lot of times there's going to be slippage and there's going to be connection issues. So yeah, I mean, I wish there was a better fix to it or a better thing to be sure about, but it's tough. I think that the only thing that I can do to really fix the issue, to improve the issue is to have one pooled account. So instead of copying accounts, I think I would have to have like just one huge account. So if I do have issues, I can just I could troubleshoot it on that one account versus on like the 40 other accounts that I have copying it. All right, guys, we have a possible NPS V2 setting up right here. Price is pushed up. We have a red candle. If the next candle is green, or whichever candle is green, it's going to be an NPS entry. I'm going to hold off on the NPS here because I'm looking for like absolute A+ entries, like one of these scenarios here. Very similar to like what happened right here, of course, right? So the reason why I'm looking for these A+ entries is because I have a lot of it in stake on this specific entry that I take next because I did increase the contract sizes. So I'm looking for only like the absolute best entry for me to take here. You know, if that's one trade a day or two trades a day, that's perfectly fine. Before I was taking half risk, so I could take two trades, but I'm not taking half risk this time, I'm taking full risk, if not more. Brian said I was using the Apex copier and I thought it was just the copier that was having issues, wasn't copying the right account sizes and didn't close out prop completely. So I think that might be a copier issue, Brian. What settings are you using for your method for your copier? Are you using because there's pre-allocation, there's percentage, there's equal, there's a lot of different ones that you can choose from. So, oh, you're using ratio. So with ratio, like the thing is, it's not going to be an exact contract size. Yeah, the ratio is kind of tricky because you're trying to do like a ratio of like your main one. I would just use pre-allocation. I mean, if you can, I would just use pre-allocation because if you have pre-allocation, it'll only execute the specific contract size that you set it to. That's what I use. I use pre-allocation. I used ratio in the past. I know what you're talking about. Sometimes it has an issue because you'll put like -1 ratio or -3 ratio, and then sometimes it doesn't take like that contract size. It takes like somewhere in between, like a little bit above or a little bit below it. So I would just use pre-allocation to fix that issue. And it's a little more work because you have to like do the calculations yourself and understand what contract size needs to be used, but you'll know exactly which contract size is being executed. So that's like one thing that I would personally do if like the contract sizes are the problem. But closing out completely, I think that might be a connection issue. So that's something that I think is widespread. It usually like it'll make a noise on your interest rate. It'll say something like connection lost, and then it'll reconnect after. But yeah, that's the issue that I have. It's a connection issue. The contract size I use pre-allocation, so that is not an issue for me though. Let's see. Yeah, Barack also said or have a bar timer on if it's not counting. It's a connection issue. Yeah, and I agree with you too, Barack, on that one. Okay, so there's no MPSV2 here, guys. Price is actually swinging the other way. And we have the sellers back in, or possibly back in control here. We have a sell signal here. We have an engulfing. So looking at this here, it might be scenario 3 again, but in the opposite direction. So possible swing to the opposite direction here. So we have an MPS that's setting up right here. The sellers have been in control from 7:30 till now, 7:32 actually. So it's only been a few minutes since the sellers try to regain control here. We have a high point here. So this is kind of where I indicated that the sellers started to be in control. We have a sell momentum here, engulfing candle. So if you get a green candle and then a red candle, it's going to be an MPS V2. And it's probably going to try to reach this liquidity target down here. That's a target that it's going to aim for. Thanks, Patricia. Patricia said if you're using Replicano, there's a new update. So I'll probably update mine after this. Looks like Apex is doing another sale. And Apex is running a lot of sales recently. Let me see when does it expire? 9 days, okay. It's 80% off. I wonder if they have half off resets too. I'm assuming they would. I mean, I don't see why not. I kind of hate how Apex does that. They'll put the sale on and they'll not tell you. So how are you supposed to know the sale is going on? All right, guys. So if you guys want to get, I mean, this is probably a good time to take, well, if you're in eval phase, it's a good time to take more risk on your accounts if you want to, pass them more quickly. I would assume, I'm going to try to, here, let me see. I'm going to try to log in and I'm going to see how much would it cost to reset. So I'm paying $50 for. Yeah, $50. I mean, it's the same as like the reset of it. All right, so yeah, the resets are also on sale. So guys, I mean, if you want to take like, if you're on an eval phase and you like want to pass that very quickly, I mean, if you want to YOLO it for a news event, I mean, you can do that too. Yeah, for the next 9 days, it is so basically February 19th next week. I wouldn't recommend YOLOing it, but if you guys want to YOLO it, I mean, at least you got that option. Thanks, Lila, for mentioning that. Yeah, Brock said I have come to hate trails. Instead of trails, I changed my risk appetite. If I'm on a trade and I feel like I need to put trail to break even modification, I just take profit on the trade. Yeah, I mean it's I do the same thing too, Brock. I'd rather just pull out in profit than move my stop loss in profit and then it hits break even and you get even more pissed off because you're like you end up taking, either break even when you could have like locked in profits on it. So I agree with you 100%, Brock, on that as well. Sorry, I missed it. What's the promo? So the promo for Apex right now is 80% off, and I'll put the code over there for you guys. It's an admin code. They didn't announce it. So like if you use the admin code, it'll give you it. So guys, there's another entry here for MPS V2, and then it's also engulfing. This is actually scenario number 3, but it's at the red flag here, so unfortunately I can't take it. Man, these red flags are annoying. They're always in the way. So okay, here's a scenario 2. This is actually what I was waiting for to come up. So we have an MPS V2 that came up right here, price push down, retrace, confirm down. That's MPS V2. We have an engulfing right here. So this is reversal continuation. And then we have another one right here on the actual entry candle. So this again is scenario number 3. And it's super annoying because it happened right at the sessions. And I'm pretty sure this is going to hit TP. Like this candle right here closed at the sessions, which is considered red flagged. So we'll follow it, but I'm not in this position. This was a scenario 3 though. So I'm not taking it, unfortunately. I'll follow it. Obviously I wanted to play through, but it's just super annoying that it ended up being at the sessions over here again. So yeah, in the promo for Apex right now is 80% off. I'm assuming all accounts, and then $50 half off resets. And I'll put that over here if you guys want it. Again, if you guys use this, the code that I give you guys is the admin code. So like this code will always give you like the highest discount. There's the code for it. It's a weird code. I didn't put it together. It's what the admins use. I'm still in the admin group, so I still have it. It's like JJNIEOWR. It's I don't know. I mean, it'd be nicer if they could just give me a specific one, like if I could create my own admin code, but it's just the code that is being used right now. Yeah, Juice of the buyers got smacked. Says thanks, Sean, for today. Done for the day, 70 points in profit. Solid. Yeah, nice work, Sam. It's pretty good work right there. I mean, I wish I could have gotten into any of these entries. I mean, it's getting closer to 8 o'clock, so probably not going to have any opportunity for entries here. But again, this is why I wouldn't want to take trades at the red flag, because you guys can see how the manipulation happens whenever price gets to this area, basically faked out. Price came below, faked out, and it swung back up from this point. I'm not in this position, so I'll just take this off. We'll follow it, but I'm not in this position here. Just so that I don't want you guys to think that I'm in it and you guys end up getting in late. Reason why we skipped this trade was because of this red line right here, which is the London low. Yeah, CJ said, are we calling them A+ entries? Because I think they deserve a better name than just scenarios. Yeah. So we'll call these A+ entries because typically these are I mean, I've done a lot of testing. If you guys want to screenshot this right here and then do some testing yourself, like I did a lot. I went to like random days. I went to like December 11th. I just went to a random day in December because I know that that month was hard for us with regard to like the slow conditions, and it worked perfectly fine. And the thing is, I was running these scenarios all throughout the day, not just during our live session time, but pretty much later in the session as well. And they hit. So, if you guys are looking for those A+ entries, I mean, ideally, that's kind of what I would aim for, just looking for those types of entries there. But you obviously would have to be careful for these red flags because this is where a lot of manipulation happens and stuff like that. And just one thing as well, guys. Well, I'll be on here tomorrow, so I just want to give you guys a heads up before we get closer to getting off the session. So I'm going to be live tomorrow, but I won't be live on Wednesday. I typically don't I try not to travel as much, but for whatever reason, like this month, I'm traveling like every other week. Like I was in Vegas last week. Obviously we traded on Friday. I made time to trade for that. I'm gonna be flying to Mexico on Tuesday. So unfortunately, I'm gonna be flying on the red eye, and then by the time I land in Mexico, it's gonna be like 6:30 time here. So I don't think I'll have time to get on the live session. Like I'm literally landing at the live session time. So I'm going somewhere deeper in Mexico. I'm not going to like where I normally go. I'm going to Oaxaca if you guys are familiar with that. So it's like more central. It's where my wife's family's from. The time difference, there's a 2 hour time difference. So I'm probably not going to be on the live on Wednesday. I'll be on the live on, but I will be trading Thursday and Friday. I'll be trading from Mexico. It's 2 hours ahead over there where I'm going to be at. So it'll be 8 o'clock over there, 6 o'clock here, of course. So just a heads up. I'm probably not going to be able to trade on Wednesday. I'll try to. I'll let you guys know if I can, but for now, I'll just say that I'm not going to be live on Wednesday because my flight kind of it overlaps with a time difference. Wish the time difference wasn't like that, but it is, fortunately. So we got the buyers. I guess I could say the buyers are in control here. So I'll put the green line right here. You guys can see how this market's been moving today, right? Let's go to the clean chart. It's just been back and forth. So let's just clean this up real quick, or I'll just delete these upper zones because they're irrelevant. So looking at this here, I mean, we've just kind of been in this big range the whole day, basically. See this big range right here? Just back, forth, back, forth. There hasn't really been too much direction. We had this big drop right here on open, and then ever since price has kind of just been going back and forth between this area. I mean, I've been looking for entries, but it would be nice to take some entries within this area. However, it's, obviously you guys can see the red flags here. So there's nothing for us to take within this area. See how far price pushed up from here. So we have a V1 variation right here, double body rejection. We have a possible MPS V2 setting up right here. So if this candle closes above this black line right here, this is going to be an MPS V2. If you look over here at the scenarios, this is going to be scenario number 2. This is going to be scenario number 2 because we have a reversal continuation right here, V1 variation. We have an MPS V2 right here. And then when this closes up, this could be a possible MPS or engulfing, and that could be scenario number 2 right there. So that's what could be coming up next. Oh no, that's crazy, Lila. Yeah, no, definitely we'll be careful out there. I'm going to a smaller city, so it's not going to be as I mean, I wouldn't say safer, but yeah, it's not going to be as crazy over there. Thankfully. CJ said my London low isn't where yours is. So, like I mentioned earlier, guys, I think my settings might be off. So I don't know if you guys want to change to my settings, these are my settings here. These are the daylight saving settings. So the thing is, we not everybody follows daylight saving, so I don't know if it's like if this is correct or not. But following my specific time for daylight savings, this is what I have it set to. It's when we're not in daylight savings right now, so I'm supposed to switch this back an hour, but this is kind of just where I have it right now. If you guys want to have it where I have mine at, these are the settings right here, and I'm probably just gonna leave it as is because we do have daylight savings coming back in March, I believe. So next month I'm gonna have to change it anyway, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. I think it's only off by an hour, so it's not a crazy big deal, but yeah, it can be helpful for you guys. So yeah, if you guys want to review this later, if you want to screenshot this, or I'll screenshot it myself and I'll put it in the Discord. Just in case. So, yeah. Savings, savings. So I put it right there just in case you guys want to see that. Buyers in control right here. So looking at this so far, I mean, I might be able to get an entry as price pushes up higher from this point. We still got some time, so I'm going to hang out for a little bit. We have a V1 variation right here. The scenario 2 is starting to play through. So we have a V1 variation. We have an MPS V2 that closed right there. So that was an entry for MPS V2 if anybody was looking to take that. The only problem here is that I would have to cut through the session. So I obviously wouldn't have taken that trade there specifically. And my scenario didn't play out yet. So the next one here is I'm looking for another confluence. So I'm looking for price to push up a little higher and then possibly give me a V1 somewhere over here or an engulfing candle, something like that, so I can take an entry. We have targets up here, so ideally I would expect price to push up there anyways. Kiel said so Wednesday we're exiled. Yeah, unfortunately for one day. But I'm bringing my whole setup with me. So, you know, if I'm at the airport and they have decent connection there, I'll get on the live with you guys. But the area that I'm going to, it's a less developed area, so I don't know if we're gonna have any crazy Wi-Fi there. Like I think from the airport, I still gotta drive. Like I gotta take another taxi, like another. They don't have any Uber there. That's how like more. I wouldn't say underdeveloped, but it's a city that's not like they don't have a lot of technology there for the most part. There's no Uber there. It's like you gotta know how to get around there and stuff like that. That's like I feel like Uber is like a good, or Lyft um is a good marker to identify if like, you know, a certain city or a certain area is developed enough to have that type of technology. Because I've been to a lot of places and a lot of places have Uber now, especially in Mexico. Like a lot of places they have right, and in Asia too. Or I guess not a lot of places in Asia don't have Uber, but there are some places that do have it. Yeah, no, it's all good, y'all. I mean, I wish I could be trading. You know, there's nothing more that I'd rather be doing than be trading in the morning with you guys. So looking at this right here, let's see what else we got. Yeah, Lamar said, sounds like you got to get a Starlink. I know my wife wants to go on a cruise, and I think they have decent Wi-Fi, but I was even tempted to get a Starlink just to trade on like on a cruise because you can buy a Starlink and you can just set it up in your room, like on your balcony. Uh, and you know, the crazy thing with Starlink is it's actually not that expensive. It's like a couple $100. If you guys have seen Starlink, if you guys are not familiar with Starlink, it's basically it's like Wi-Fi that can go anywhere um, by SpaceX. Like you can put it on your car, you can have Wi-Fi anywhere. It's like a little dish. Patricia said, Sean, sorry, might have not heard. Yeah, so I forgot. I thought I answered your question, but I totally went over my head, Patricia. So I need to keep working on this indicator. I'm hoping to get it out to you guys like very soon, like maybe by tomorrow, because I'm gonna be gone for the week. So like ideally, I'd like to get it to you guys by tomorrow. I'm gonna keep testing it today and like throughout the week. Maybe all day today. I'm gonna test it, and then if it looks like it's good enough to go, then I'll just give it to you guys, and then I'll make changes along the way. So I'll try to get it to you guys. If not today, I'll try to get it to you guys by tomorrow. And if not by tomorrow, by the end of this week at latest. Yeah, I'll try to get it to you guys as soon as possible because I know it's very, very useful, right? I'm pretty sure you like it, Patricia. It's super, super useful to use these as confluences. The way that I identify confluences here is so I'll look at a low point, I'll mark up the green bar here, and then these confluences here will help you identify who's in control, right? Like this high point, seller is in control, and then you have a confluence, like, okay, now it flips the other way, and then now it's possibly going to flip this way too. It makes it so much easier to identify confluence or direction of bias without having to like actually look for those V1s or engulfing candles. Yeah, I know it's super useful. I'm like surprised I didn't think to do this earlier. Like over this weekend, I just had an epiphany. And I was like, I should have that tool. Like we always look for V1s and we always look for engulfing. So I put the logic together, sent it over to my brother. He coded it within a couple minutes, and here we are. I've been playing with this all weekend. It's a pretty fun tool because it's like the thing is you can go pretty far back and it'll show you the V1 patterns. I don't think you even have to replay. You can just go back and they just kind of show up. I would just turn off the high low indicator because that kind of gets in the way. But these engulfing and V1s, it's pretty cool. You can go like super, super far back and you can kind of see like you can back test without having going into replay mode. Because you can just look here and you're like, okay, there's these engulfings. And if you guys look at those scenarios that I drew up for you guys, like those entries for area, they're like spot on. They're super, super spot on. And I think it'll like I had a lot of fun over the weekend just kind of going over with this. I was gonna keep it a secret, but I was like, no, I'm gonna show it to you guys because you guys already know what the tool is. It's more so just fine tuning at this point. Ing is asking, are you looking for a buy position? No, I'm looking for a sell. The sellers are in control right here. So I have this red bar here indicating that the sellers are in control. I have an engulfing candle right here indicating that there's a confluence to the downside, and then price is still pushing down lower. We might shift back up because there's a V1 variation pattern right here. But we're really close to 8 o'clock, so I don't think I'm going to be looking for any more entries here. So we have a V1 variation pattern right here. If price comes down lower, it's going to invalidate this V1 variation pattern. And then if it pretty much, if it knocks it out and this isn't here, then the sellers are still going to be in control. So there's two things that can happen. Either price pushes up higher, and then from here, the buyers be back in control. And at that point, we can start looking for some buys. Or if this here gets invalidated and price comes below this V1, like it comes lower from this point, then the sellers are still in control because the buyers never push price back up. And that's looking like what it's going to happen here. So looking at this here, we have this here pushing down lower. Okay, so this is a little tricky now. It's a little tricky because we might have two different confluences to the upside, V1 and then possibly an engulfing right here if this closes green. So just a couple things here to look at. I mean, never mind, I take that back. This here has been invalidated, prices drop below it. So the buyers never regain control. The sellers are still in control here. So if you guys are looking to take anything from this point, I mean, there may be a possible setup for an NPS V2. So we have sellers in control, engulfing, possible NPS V2 right here setting up if the candle closes with the sell signal. But thanks, Aiden. We have low impact news coming up shortly in about 3 minutes. We got or it just came up right now, actually. Consumer inflation expectations. So it literally just came up on this specific candle. This one over here is a V1 and engulfing. So buyers might be back in control right here. But you guys can see it's a back and forth. Brian said, not Sean plugging Starlink. CJ said Elon made a Starlink free. Yeah, I saw that commercial. I was wondering how that would work. Like if you would need to have T-Mobile access. Yeah, CJ said Elon and Starlink made a Starlink free to T-Mobile customers in general and free to AT&T and Verizon customers until July. Yeah, I saw that too on the Super Bowl commercial. I'm actually going to look that up now that you mentioned it. I'm glad that you mentioned that. Starlink, AT&T. Yeah, Starlink beta. You know, it's crazy. The Starlink thing, it kind of reminds me of like Terminator. Because like now they kind of have control over it. Well, not control, but they're pretty much giving like access to everybody now. So they kind of have, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some sort of disclaimer there where it's like you have to check off a box where it's like if you use this service, we have access to your whole phone or something like that, right? Um, it's kind of crazy. Like Elon is just, I mean, he already has control over like all the Teslas on the road. There's so many Teslas on the road. He knows where every car is at all times, and he can control all of the. Well, basically, they have control over them because you guys have seen how Tesla's kind of. If you have that the Starlink in the car, it's I mean, it's crazy. Like I used to have a Tesla before, and whenever I had an issue, I had a friend that worked at Tesla. Um, oh, you know him, Brian, you know Earl. Yeah, like Earl. So I had a problem with my Tesla where like the AC wouldn't turn off, and he like went on his computer because he's like a technician at Tesla, and he pulled up all my information on my Tesla, and he was able to control it from where he was on his little laptop. I was like, it's pretty crazy. It's crazy that they have full control over your car from anywhere. Like they can turn it on, they can move it. It's nuts. Tesla is crazy. Yeah, CJ's the Terminator is exactly what I thought when it comes to Starlink and Tesla cars. And robots remind me of iRobot. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy because like before that used to be like sci-fi stuff. Like you wouldn't expect that stuff to really happen. But I mean it's happening. What a time to be alive. All right, so there's nothing here to take, guys. Looking at this here, we still have no sell signal. The sellers are still in control here. We have an engulfing, we have another engulfing right here. So the next thing that you would look for would be a sell signal. So if you have a sell signal come up, you can look for that NPS. Looking over here at my scenarios, it's going to be scenario number one. So reversal continuation, reversal continuation. We have one right here. This is an engulfing reversal to the downside, another reversing engulfing to the downside. And now you're looking for an NPS V2 to come up. So your entry would be on the NPS V2 candle close. So if you guys are still looking to trade, I'm not going to trade because it's past my trading time. I'm not going to force anything here, of course. There's no need for me to do that. But yeah, again, if you guys want to trade here, and there's a sell signal here that's pending. The reason why I'm not staying on, I would stay on and continue trading after the live session time if we didn't have these red flags here. But I just kind of find this to be like it's not going to work out for me. I already know if we get an MPS down here, it's probably going to be at the sessions. So there's no need for me to stay on and kind of just wait for nothing here to happen for me. Because yeah, if we have a sell signal that would come up, obviously it would be somewhere around here. And if my entry happens down here, I have to cut through this sessions. And even if the entry happens down here, I'd have to cut through this sessions right here. So it's just not a good area for me specifically where I want to trade. So I'm probably just going to wrap this up for the day. Yeah, Cerns at Skynet. Yeah. It's funny because it has a very similar name. Starlink, Skynet. Yeah, Stern said nobody wants Tesla in Europe. I mean, I'm kind of done with electric cars too. I'm getting my car's in the auto body shop right now because someone hit me in the parking lot a couple of months ago. And yeah, I'm getting that fixed. And once you get that fixed, I'm probably gonna go back to a non-electric. Probably gonna sell it, possibly. I don't know. The value of my car, it's crazy. I paid, if you guys have seen my car, my Porsche. So I paid like over 200,000 for that car, and the value for it is just it plummeted like crazy. It's like worth like a half now. So I have a choice of whether I want to keep it or if I want to just sell it and get whatever I can for it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, and people are, the crazy thing is that people are still buying that car new. When like the used ones are like half price. Yeah, it's crazy here in the US and over there. I think just electric cars in general. The thing is, I got lucky with my Tesla. I sold it for a profit when like the demand was super high. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing with this Porsche. And then it didn't work out. So I basically lost like 100,000 on that car, which is okay. At this point, I'm like, now I just got to make more money trading to make up my losses on that specific car. Um, yeah, you win some, you lose some. It's it's tough to win all the time. Let's see, CJ said, since you're going to be out of the country tomorrow, can we get a quick mini mentoring session today? Yeah, no, definitely. I'll still be live tomorrow, CJ. I just won't be live on Wednesday. So let's see, today at let's say 2 p.m. So let's get on at 2 p.m. today at our usual time, and we'll get on for a quick mentoring session, like maybe for an hour or 2 hours, like something real quick. I'm gonna show you guys examples of these scenarios here, right? I'm gonna put this up right here. Let's put momentum, pullback scalp, A plus, eight plus, we'll put three pluses on there, entries. And I'll save that under scenarios. Okay, so yeah, if you guys can come on, if you guys can or can't come on, it's fine. It'll be recorded. So I will be on at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Right now it's 8 o'clock, so I'll probably be back in like about 6 hours. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yeah, 6 hours from now. So 2 p.m. Pacific time, I'll hop onto a quick mentoring session with you guys. We'll go over like a couple things. We'll go over a lot of stuff. I'll show you guys how I identify how the sellers or buyers are in control here, and then we'll go over like these types of setups here because there's a lot of setups. And I did a lot of testing for these over the weekend, and they're really, really good. Like I can't emphasize how good these setups are, these scenarios. I can't set up a specific strategy because there are like 3 different scenarios here, but they're basically the same thing. It's just they come up in different orders. But I've tested this and I don't think I saw like one loss. And that's not even like and that's not even over exaggerating it. It's like I went to random days in like December, I went to random days in November. I just really tested this out to see like I wanted to see a loss to see if like if it was a type of strategy that would lose. But again, these things don't come up very often. So like for example, it came up like maybe 2 or 3 times, or maybe just twice today. This one right here, and then this one right here. Or actually, this isn't even the one. It only came up once today, which is right here. And it played out pretty nicely. And it was in confluence with the previous entry that was already running as well. So yeah, I'll be back here in a few hours, guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'm gonna wrap this up for the day. It's 8:09 right now. It's past my live trading time. I typically am done trading at 8 o'clock. I was gonna wait for another entry here, but because the red flags are down around this area, there's just no reason for me to keep looking for entries today specifically. So, all right, guys, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'll be back here in about 6 hours for the